I sat in court for about 60 days, and if I didn't attend court myself, I wouldn't have believed the story.
Judge Ellen Francis has likened the case to listening to a horror story.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me again. And I'm gonna say it again, and I know I say this every week, but this week we're doing something different. Like, different. Oh wait, I'm actually forgot the glasses. They've become a crucial part of the YouTube channel, so they will remain a crucial part of the 5 videos that I've posted. But anyways, let's carry on. I apologize for the very strong background lighting. As you can see, my curtains are literally see-through. They do nothing, not even when I sleep. My room is still fully lit when I sleep, but just ignore that, focus on me. So this week we are actually going to be doing something different. I'm actually going to start a series of true crime, but I'm gonna do a true crime story and just see if it, picks up the YouTube channel a bit, because I really enjoy true crime stories as well. I'm gonna do design in the background as well though, just so that it remains a design channel. So I'm gonna be doing some mindless design in the background, but this is going to be a true crime story with real photos and real footage. So I'm very excited to be discussing this with you guys and having a chat. Grab a snack, grab a cup of coffee, grab a glass of wine if you want to, and let's get to it. So the first true crime story time, I actually quite like that, true crime story times, that we're going to be discussing, that's the new slogan, is actually called Devil's Dorp. So if you haven't heard of Devil's Dorp before, it is actually a South African TV show, and it takes us behind the scenes of a bunch of seemingly unrelated murders that happen in a very quiet town called Krugersdorp, which is in Johannesburg in South Africa. So the timeline mostly runs over a 4-year period and investigates the connection between these killings. And yep, you guessed it, good old Satanism. Satanism's just always got to be in there. If it's a good true crime story time, what's in there? Satanism. So let's get into it. I'm just gonna design on my laptop, and you will obviously be seeing the design while I'm doing it. So if I'm staring straight ahead, you know why. It's not because I don't want to stare at your gorgeous face. It is because I am focused. So apologies for that, but I will be staring at your face every now and then. Also, the series is actually based on a TV show that has released on Showmax in South Africa. I'm not sure if Showmax is international, I don't think it is, but it released on Showmax, and this series is called Devil's Dorp. So Devil's Dorp actually means Devil's Town, so that is where this took place. And yeah, so all the footage that I'm going to be using and all the information that I got comes from the TV show Devil's Dorp. If you want to go look it out, go look it out. If you want to go look it out, if you want to go check it out, check it out on Showmax. I'm sure that some of the shows are actually available on YouTube and on other streaming platforms. So if you do want to watch it, it's very good. It's very interesting. It's very gripping. So go check it out. So just a little bit of background around the actual show. So the show actually takes place in Krugersdorp, and it is a small mining town in South Africa. So people actually flock there to dig for gold, and there is in fact a very big wealth gap in South Africa. So yeah, that is why people flock there for gold, obviously in hope that they could get some more wealth, a little bit of the richer rich. On the 10th of May 2016, the police discovered an abandoned vehicle outside of a school. So very strange behavior. No one, we don't want people killed outside of school. And they basically found the body of a person in a bag, and this person had actually been strangled to death. Not a great way to go. The victim's name was Anthony Schofield. So he's our first victim, died on the 10th of May 2016. So this Anthony Schofield was actually a financial advisor who actually went missing earlier on in that day. He had money withdrawn from his account, so went there for the richer rich and lost the richer rich. And he was actually at an appointment at 6 p.m. and he didn't return from the appointment home. He just went to the appointment and then obviously didn't come home, and his family thought, this is sus. So they reported it, and yeah, unfortunately his body was found in a bag outside of a school in a car. So that was our first death, and already people had started getting very worried and very like surprised at what was happening, because it's very strange that people or someone was murdered in this town, because it's such a small town. There wasn't a lot of crime that went on. There wasn't a lot of anything that really went on. So for someone to be murdered this brutally and left outside of a school is most certainly a very strange event. So people were scared. And then again on the 26th of May, exactly 16, is my maths correct? Yes, 16 days later, the exact same thing happened. So this victim was called Kevin McAlpine, and same thing. Kevin McAlpine is a financial advisor. His body was found in the back of a car in a bag. He was also strangled to death. The money was also withdrawn from his account. And obviously the police were like, oh, well, you know, same people murdered these two victims, Kevin and Anthony. But there was a very clear link between these murders, obviously. And he was also, strange part, he was also at an appointment at 6 p.m. and did not return home. So his family obviously were like, yeah, well, a little bit sus, let me tell the police. And then, yeah, this very strange occurrence happened. So now people actually started to think that there was a serial killer on the loose. And it was really scary because these murders happened while these two financial advisors were supposed to be at work appointments. So it wasn't as if they were just out the house at 6 p.m, you know, wandering the street. So people started getting super scared, because now they were like, if I have an appointment at 6 p.m, if I'm a real estate agent and I need to go show someone a house at 6 p.m, they were like cancelling their appointments left, right and centre, because they obviously connected their appointments with getting murdered. So yeah, very, very strange happenstance of events. That's probably not even a word, but you know what I mean. So then on the 30th of May, exactly 4 days after Kevin McAlpine was found, someone else went missing, and her name was Lotta. So Lotta was, like I just actually used the example, a real estate agent, and people were also trying to withdraw money from her account. Her son had actually driven to the area where Kevin McAlpine's body was found, and his mom's car was indeed there, found in front of Krugersdorp Hospital. And after that, they didn't really end up finding her that night, so Hanley was still missing. It's kind of the same timeline of events, if I could use that word, but Hanley wasn't murdered as of yet, or you know, she was alive. We don't know yet. And they didn't end up actually finding her that night. Her body wasn't in her car that they found outside of Krugersdorp Hospital, and they eventually found Hanley's deceased body in a field on the 31st of May, also in a black bag. So now the community was absolutely petrified. The real estate agents and financial advisors were randomly getting murdered, and obviously if you were a real estate agent or a financial advisor, you would be scared, you know? Naturally, you would be pretty scared. Something as serious as this has never happened in their small community before. So people were literally like locking up their offices at 3 p.m, going home, not going out at night at all. Like restaurants and stuff were losing so much money because no one wanted to be out of the house after 6 p.m. in case the murderer was still on the loose. So there were no suspects yet. The police hadn't really found anything connecting these victims to the person that murdered them. The community also found this very strange, that the police couldn't pick up anything. But these people who were murdered eventually were called the appointment murders, because they had been at work appointments and obviously didn't make it back. And that was what the serial killer, or you know, group of murderers or whatever they were, that's who they were targeting, were people going out for work at 6 p.m. and then not being able to return home. So the police eventually got some CCTV, can't say that, footage of people trying to withdraw money from all three of these people's accounts. They, you know, the ATMs have those little cameras. So they eventually got some footage from those cameras and realized that the three people trying to withdraw money from the account were all of the same people. So there was a clear link in all 3 murders in that they were out at 6 p.m, you know, found somewhere in a bag, and the fact that all the people that were trying to withdraw their money from the bank accounts all looked like the same people. So clear link between 3 murders. So people eventually started saying that these people looked a lot like the Steyn children. So Steyn is a surname, so they were obviously children of the Steyn name. And these 2 children were called Leroux Steyn and Marcel Steyn. So Marcel had just finished high school with 6 distinctions, and Leroux was 20, and he was just busy doing odd jobs here and there, you know, like waitressing, part-time stuff, fixing people's cars, that sort of thing. And they actually found signs of Leroux's eye piercing and other similarities in the facial comparison that they had actually called the children in to do. So they called the children in for questioning, basically just to see how they look and to photograph their faces to see if they matched the ATM CCTV footage. And yeah, Leroux's eye piercing seemed sus because he had an eye piercing and the person in the footage had an eye piercing. So yeah, this is where community and small town syndrome really helps. It's because everyone in the community could tell the police, hey, that looks like someone I know. And it turns out that these 2 kids were the 2 people who were trying to withdraw money from people's accounts, or the deceased accounts. So it was a match. So they ended up arresting Leroux and Marcel for being linked to the bank cards of the deceased, and they were possibly obviously related to the murders. It only makes sense that they were related to the murders because who else would kill someone and then have someone else withdraw the money? You know, it just, how else would they get their bank cards? You know, clear link. So during the interrogation, Marcel said that they got the cards from Nigerians who had committed these appointment murders, and they apparently didn't even commit the murders. So Marcel and Leroux didn't even touch the people who were deceased. So they couldn't actually prove that they murdered the 3 victims because Marcel and Leroux ended up telling them that it was other people. But Leroux, however, did end up confessing to all 3 murders and said that he committed them alone. So first these oaks are lying, and then they're like, oh yeah, no, Nigerians committed the murders and we just try to withdraw the money. And then Leroux's like, no, I actually committed them all but alone, so my sister wasn't involved in this, which is also super strange because why would you know, frame possibly someone else and then say, oh no, I actually ended up committing all the murders. He also said that he stole the money and that he dumped the bodies. So he ended up taking responsibility for pretty much everything, which is also weird. So Leroux was quite a young, scrawny dude. So he had to have been taking some serious, like steroids or supplements or both to be able to pick those lifeless bodies up by himself and throw them into the boot of a car or into a field. I don't know, unless he picked up a few kgs. I don't know, or lost a few kgs after all 3 murders. There was no ways that he had been able to pick up those lifeless bodies and, you know, put them where they were. So he had to have help, but, you know, the question is who helped him and who is he protecting? No one knows yet. So in 2012, so we're moving a little bit back in time, 4 years before these murders. In 2012, there was a girl called Michaela Valentine who attended Bible college. And after quite a difficult past with substance abuse and, you know, all the things that comes with substance abuse, like rehab, whatever the case may be, she ended up becoming a preacher at a church. And one day she brought home a guy, Zach, who's also a Christian, and she really liked him, and he was the light at the end of her tunnel. You know, they were really in love. They were very cute lovebirds. And it'll become apparent why I'm going back in time later on in the series, but this is just how the Devil's Dorp TV show is structured, and I think it's a great structure because it doesn't reveal too much at once, and it's like a slow burn effect. So this is why we're going to jump forward and backwards in time, but all of these people had to do with what happened in Krugersdorp, so just bear with me and just look at the pictures. So we're on Michaela and Zach now. So on the 4th of October 2012, probably shortly after they had met and got married, Zach came home from work and found his wife, Michaela Valentine, brutally murdered in their bed. So it was a very gruesome murder. There were 60 stab wounds in her upper body, and the captain of police said it's only someone who is possessed who could commit a crime like this, because no one in their right mind would want to do something like that. And Michaela was a loved person in the community. Sure, she had some grudges and some bad things, but it wasn't as if people hated her. People accepted her into the community. She was a preacher at the local church, so it wouldn't make sense for someone to brutally murder her like this. And it was definitely not a robbery. They definitely think it was some sort of a hate crime, so it had to have been someone who just had a grudge against her in the community. And the police also found extremely abnormal things in the house. Like they found handwritten Bible verses covering one of the walls, that sort of thing. So very strange things were found with her body. And in 2012, there were actually 4 murders, just like Michaela, called the Satanic murders, and Michaela was one of the 4 victims, along with another preacher. So again, 2012, 4 murders. 2016, another 3 murders, and all of these murders in 2012, along with Michaela, were all extremely brutal, very gruesome, and the only reason that they were dubbed the Satanic murders is because the police found evidence containing satanic writings at one of the murder locations. So naturally, they assumed it was Satanism and occult related, as one does. Makes a lot of sense. These all looked like hate crimes, and the satanistic ties were merely an opinion. They couldn't really prove that it was Satanism, but it did look like Satanism. The murder scenes looked like Satanism. So we're heading back again in time. Around the year 2000, a lot of satanic activity was apparent on the West Rand, which is a part of Gauteng that Krugersdorp falls under. So if you live in Krugersdorp, you live on the West Rand of Johannesburg in South Africa. And the place was raided, and a very large satanic cell was uncovered. The newspapers covered all of these stories, and it was well-known people who participated in this. So very strange things happening in this community over a very strange, very long timeline. And it just sort of comes and goes. These satanistic happenings just sort of come and go. They come, and then they uncover them, and then they come back 10 or so years later, and then it's even worse. And that was basically what was happening in this community. And there was also a lot of satanic occults found in the surrounding rivers and alleys, ditches and streams, like burned candles, slaughtered cats, etc. All the things you'd expect.
Jesus there.
Sorry, I just pressed play by accident. Got such a big fright. I'm gonna leave that in. When you're reading about stuff like this and then that happens, how could you not get freaked out? I'm just gonna look behind me for old time's sake. And one of the journalists involved in the Devilsdorp story said that there was actually a theory going around that stated how Krugersdorp was perfect for Satanism because it has 5 entrances into the town, and these 5 entrances can form a pentagram. Now this is obviously just a theory, because I don't know who looks at the entrances into the town and makes a pentagram out of them. Very strange, but we move. So now we're going to move on to 2008. So in 2008, something called the Samurai incident happened. And on the 18th of August 2008, 18-year-old Morne Harmsa had left school the Friday before with a plan to bring weapons to school the following week. And as per the news, what started as a schoolboy prank turned into a rampage. So on Monday, him and his friends actually arrived at school with homemade masks and swords, and yeah, the masks were from the band Slipknot. And they ended up murdering another pupil at the school, and no one expected it from him, and everyone believed he was forced to do it or told to do it by someone else, because Morne was such a sweet child, and like, I don't know, no one would expect this boy to murder someone else. So it was actually assumed that these boys who showed up at school with masks and swords were involved in Satanism. These boys were given tasks to complete to become part of the satanistic group, and apparently he wanted out, but you can't just up and leave groups like this without fearing for your life. You know, you've got to do stuff to get into these groups, do stuff to get out of these groups. You can't just leave without being killed, essentially. Yeah, you can't just be like, you know, yeah, I've had enough, see you later. No. So if you're ever stuck in a situation like that, don't up and leave. You gotta ask for the terms and conditions. Remember to read the fine print, guys, read the fine print. After this incident, people were still so scared that their children were now all part of Satanistic cults, and this guy, Tian Geldenes, saw an opportunity. And let me tell you, did he take this opportunity with both his hands and feet. He released a CD called Cleanse Your House, or Clean Your House. And the CD was about spiritual house cleaning that instructed the people of the restaurant on how to get rid of objects and things that you're bringing into your home that could draw unwanted demons and spirits into your house. So naturally, people started burning cutlery, children's books, paintings, etc. You name it, it was burnt.
Maak jou huis skoon. En hierdie CD het almal op hol gehad.
People, what I want to discuss with you today is spiritual house cleaning. About the fact that we can bring things into our homes that give a legal right to demon spirits to attack us or our children.
And Harry Potter books were at the top of the list. Let me tell you, if you got any Harry Potter books, you are bringing demons into your house, burn them. And everything was satanistic. Even Spider-Man, guys. Even Spider-Man. Spider-Man was satanistic. How? And even toe rings, ankle chains, tongue studs, everything. Taking it back to 2006 again, there was a church that started called the Overcomes of Christ, who especially were against the dangers of Satanism. So the starter of the church, Rhea, actually enrolled in a trauma counseling course that focused on victims of satanic ritual abuse because she dedicated her life to help people escape from Satanism. So Rita became a figure of authority known for guiding people out of cults. And one day she got a call about a woman, who supposedly escaped the satanic church and needed her help urgently. So Rhea got up and she went to go help this woman. And shortly after, Rhea actually seemed a bit withdrawn, like, from the community. And she said she feels that God has actually sent this woman to her. She's a survivor of the satanic church. And she actually turned out to be, this chick that Rhea's helping, she turned out to be a 42nd generational satanic witch, of the highest ranking witches in the country. So she was one of the highest ranking witches in the country. Scary stuff. I don't know about you, but if someone told me that, I would get on up there and leave, but I'd also read the fine print, but I would get on up and leave. Definitely. So after she had found out this little fun fact, the woman claimed to be the bride of Satan and actually explained to Rhea the kind of abuse she witnessed and experienced while being a member of the satanic church. So even, it gets worse, basically. It gets worse. And she said that due to her high rank, she wasn't allowed to break free from the satanic church, and therefore she was in a lot of danger by doing what she did, by leaving. So obviously she needed Rhea's help because Rhea had done a course in this and she had opened this church especially for people who wanted to, escape Satanism. So people started saying that Rhea was becoming a bit paranoid, claiming that they're listening in on the sound waves when she speaks to other people about the situation and that sort of thing. I would also be pretty scared and pretty paranoid if I was hanging out with a 42nd generational witch and bride of Satan. And Rhea started claiming that certain death curses would be activated upon her if she went within a 30-kilometer radius of her house. And people became very worried about her. And this lady she was supposedly helping, her name was called Cecilia Steyn. So this is the witch, Cecilia Steyn. So after this, Rhea then went on to start presenting courses and helping satanic abuse survivors and called it Know Your Enemy, so that people, in the community would know a satanic person who left the satanic church if they saw one.
One of the most important war tactics is to know what your enemy is up to and how he operates. That is who our enemy the propagator about all that is happening in the Dark Kingdom. It is Satan.
And the course was based on Cecilia's stories and about her part as a Satanist and as part of the Satanic Church. And Cecilia was this proof that you can actually escape from Satanism, and was actually seen as a bit of a light and hope to the people who thought, oh, if you're in Satanism, you know, you can't get out, but she was proof that you can. And this course material gave very deep insight into the very secretive world of Satanism and how it overtook the Christian churches in history. And after this, the course attracted a very, diverse crowd, including Zach and Michaela Valentine that I spoke of earlier, who, Michaela obviously got murdered. Those are the people that I spoke of earlier. They got murdered in, let me just check, 2012. Yeah, Michaela was murdered in 2012. This church started in 2006. So Zach and Michaela were part of this course. They wanted to, know your enemy. Know their enemy. They were part of the course called Know Your Enemy. And there was a lady called Cecilia Steyn. Does Steyn sound familiar? It's the first little kiddies that I spoke about. The teacher attended this course and was moved by Cecilia's story. She often attended with her two children, LaRue and Marcel Steyn, who I also spoke of earlier on. And on the 16th of December 2015, Zach Valentine died in a car accident. So exactly 3 years after his wife Michaela Valentine had died, Zach died in a car accident, and LaRue Steyn, the kiddie who I spoke about first, who was trying to withdraw money from people's bank accounts that were murdered, phoned about his life claims to ensure the beneficiary got all of it. But turns out, and yep, you guessed it, the beneficiary was good old 42nd generational witch and bride of Satan, Cecilia Steyn. So she was, Zach Valentine's beneficiary, to make sure that she got all the claims. So that is going to be the first segment of my series. This is basically what the first episode speaks about in Devil's Dorp. And it's a lot to take in, and it jumps very backwards and forwards, but as you can see, everyone who got killed and all the people involved in the story kind of all link up to one person at the moment, which is Cecilia Steyn, the lady who escaped from the Satanic Church. And I can promise you it gets better. It gets bad. Already it's this timeline of over 15 years of murders and satanic happenings and like occults and super weird violent stuff happening in the town of Krugersdorp, all of them pretty much without explanation. It's merely just opinions and people thinking, must be Satanism, or must be possessed, or someone must have done this for this, or mostly just linked to Satanism, but no one really knows for sure. But this whole series is based on all of this and all of these violent happenings, and how all of these violent happenings link up to one thing in the end, and we don't know what that thing is yet. But if you would like to listen to the next one, please wait for the next video. But I do hope that you enjoyed this part one of the story. It's a lot to take in, but if you want to go back and listen to one of the stories, go for it if you need to keep up. I will try and explain the next ones a bit easier. I know it is a bit back and forth, but trust me, you'll understand once you watch the other parts. But this is just the beginning. This is just an intro, and now you know everyone. Well, not everyone, but mostly everyone who is involved. So thank you so much for watching this YouTube video. I hope that the true crime story was nice and nice. I can't really say it's nice. I hope that the true crime story was interesting, and I hope that you enjoyed the design aspect of it as well. But have a good day. Go and hug a teddy after this. I am gonna go cuddle my dog after getting that huge fright earlier, and I'm going to also have a good day. Great thoughts, positive energy. Okay, we love true crime stories, but we also love positive energy. So if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be doing more of the true crime series, and I will be doing more design videos as well. So love you lots. Bye.